All right, how's it going, guys? I don't normally do videos like this, but I just installed a remote starter on my Mercedes behind me, and there are no good videos that tell you exactly how to do it. And when I ran into a programming issue, there was no solutions or answers on the internet. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a video showcasing how to install a remote start on any Mercedes. This video you can reference for those models, but you can also reference for earlier models or later models. They'll use a similar system. In this video, I am specifically doing 08 to 2014. I will go ahead and put up on the screen now a list of all vehicles that fall under this specific kit. And like I said, you can use this to reference in other Mercedes, as it will use the same base module, but the secondary module may be a little bit different. As always, I will leave all of the parts that are used in the description below. There will be Amazon links, which I get a little bit of kickback on, and it might save you a little bit of money because Amazon pricings are a little bit better, but all these parts I got from Lockdown Security Canada, which you guys can go ahead and use them. I don't care which way you guys go. Their system will make it a lot easier to find the specific parts for your vehicle if you have something that differs a little bit from my vehicle. But if you have the same model as my car, you can use all the parts from Amazon and they should work correctly as long as all the box part numbers match what I am using. This kit will allow you to use your standard key fob that your car already comes with. It also allows for extended range key fobs such as 1 mile, which I will be installing in this video. And you can also do an add-on with either the drone system or the system that Lockdown Security uses, which will give you access to start it from your phone anywhere in the world. The one that Lockdown Security sells is only available in Canada due to the cell service, which you get a lifetime service to. If you use the drone module compared to the module that Lockdown Security uses, you will have to pay a $50 a month fee due to the cell services, but it will work anywhere in the world, including the US and the UK. So now that all of that is out of the way, let's go ahead and get started with the parts you will need, and then start with the programming first. So right here, I have laid out all of the parts that are included in the kits, along with the tools that you will need. This should have been over here. So we'll start off with the parts that you'll get. The first thing you're gonna want is for a 2008 to 2014, or in this case, it says 2008 to 2015, Mercedes Benz kit. The kit I am using is the BZ3 from IDataStart. Inside of this kit, you'll get your secondary module. You will get the harness specific to the 08 to 2015 Mercedes Benz. You will also get an adapter for vehicles that are enabled with CAN or push to start. This will be your CAN cable in case you are using a vehicle that has push to start and CAN functions. These are additional plugs and wires in case you have a type 3 or 4. In my case, I am only going to be using the main harness and the module because my vehicle falls under the type 1 vehicle, which is a standard key. Here I will list all of the vehicles on which category they fall in, if they are type 1, type 2, or type 3 or 4. In this video, I will cover type 1 and type 2 because these are the two I am familiar with. For type 3 and 4, you can reference this diagram or use the diagram down below, which is the same one that I am putting on screen now. Up next is the control module. This one is going to be your CMBMX A0. This kit is required to be used with this module. Make sure that this part number here and this number here, with the exception if you are using a older or newer vehicle, it will be BZ1, 2, 3, or 4. Make sure it fits your model year and make sure that it is this kit going along with this module. The main thing we will be focused on in this box is the module. Over here are just a couple of different cables for hood latch systems, depending on if your vehicle has one or does not have one. You can also bypass this by not installing it, and that is what we will be doing in this case. Over here is an optional system. This is the RF2412A. It comes with 2 key fobs that are capable of starting the vehicle from a mile away, along with an antenna and an antenna cable. Moving on from the parts list, we will have the tools that I am going to be using today. First off, we are going to be starting with a laptop, desktop, or any type of PC that has internet access and has the ability to download programs. On top of that, we have a mini USB cable. This will be linked down below as well. This is not any special cable. You can get these for about $6 on Amazon. So you can get this cable for $6 on Amazon, or you can buy it from Lockdown Security. I would recommend just getting the one from Amazon as they do the same thing. Down here we have the tools that will be used. We have some needle nose pliers. You can also replace this with a specific socket, which I believe is around $30 or $45. I prefer to just use what I have on hand. You will want some of these plastic trim removers, which can run anywhere from $1 to $5. More than likely, you will not need a Phillips head screwdriver, but it won't hurt to have it on hand. And then you will want a tiny flathead, pretty small, not massive. And then you will also want a pick set. I prefer this Icon pick set as it has that little bit of curve at the tip, which allows you to get into awkward angles. You'll probably want a flashlight, not required, but you'll probably want it. Over here, I just have a wrench with a T15. You more than likely will not have to use this on your vehicle. The only reason why I have this over here is because my vehicle has an aftermarket radio installed. Okay, so now that we are past the boring stuff, the first thing we are gonna do is we are gonna assemble our main control module with our expansion module. You can do that by popping off this top piece here. It should be the longer piece, and you'll know when you see the fuse that you are on the correct side. Next, what you're gonna do is on the bottom of the extended module, you have this connector here. You will slide it in from the outside, which should be pretty easy to do if you had two hands. So you'll just run it across the top there and click it into place. Your module should look like this. And then what we are gonna do is we are gonna go ahead and hop on our laptop and we are going to hook up our mini USB to our control module. So now that we have our control module hooked up with our basic USB mini, as I said, I just had this one laying around. I actually got this off of my old Razer keyboard that I still use to this day, that is about 10 years old. If you don't have one laying around, again, you can buy it down in the Amazon link below. Now, what we are gonna do is we are gonna go to myfirsttech.idatalink.com. And again, there will be a link down below to both this website and the specific one I use in this video. But in case you have a different model than what I have, you are gonna wanna go to firmware, all firmware. Go ahead and click on that. My internet's a little bit slow. Then from here, you can go to your make and model. You're gonna wanna scroll down to Mercedes Benz. In my case, it is a 2014. And then it is gonna be a C-Class, non-AMG. Then here, you'll pick either push to start or tip start, which will be your typical key start, which in my case, I am using a typical start. And from here, you will click the CM BMX A0. From here, you'll see RS BZ3. Go ahead and click more info. From here, you will see a list of vehicles that this will apply to. So from here, you can go to firmware versions. Go ahead and go to the newest version. So for some reason, there are 4 of the exact same things listed here. So I'll just go ahead and use this top link here, hit flash this firmware. You will then be brought to the web link. From here, you will have to either register an account, or if you happen to have one already, you can go ahead and log in. Then when you attempt to log in, it will say here, web link online has been discontinued. Please download the web link desktop by clicking here. Then go ahead and hit get it now. Depending on if you're on an Apple device or a Windows device, you can download the appropriate program. Once the program is downloaded, you can go ahead and open the application, allow it to access your hard drive, hit next, accept the license agreement. You can read through it if you would like. Go ahead and hit next, wait for it to install. Another tab will come up, hit next, install, then go ahead and hit finish. Now from this point, you're gonna go ahead and hit next, I agree, and then install. You'll have this prompt come up, then you will go ahead and hit finish to rub the web link desktop app. After the app loads, you will be prompted to log in again. After putting in your login details, go ahead and hit login. And then you are gonna wanna hit web link RS. Once you are on the screen, you may or may not see a vehicle depending on if it was flashed prior to being delivered to you. This can change based on if you bought it from Amazon, eBay, or Lockdown Security. Lockdown Security will program the module for you before it gets delivered to you, but is not guaranteed that it will work with the program. As in my case, I actually had to re-flash my entire device because the top module was not flashed along with the bottom module. So let's go ahead and flash this device again. We will go back to My First Tech, make sure we are on the BZ3 flash, hit flash this firmware, and then hit flash your module, then hit continue, open WebLink desktop app, go ahead and log in again. After logging in, go ahead and hit WebLink RS. After the loading screen, your unit should then say your vehicle here. So your main module has been flashed with the IDS version 5.1 or newer if there's a newer option out. You can then scroll down and flash again on your M device, which will be your BZ3 unit. Down here I'm using 3.9. There may or may not be a newer unit when you flash yours, but go ahead and hit flash again to be sure that this device is compatible and working along with the main controller. From here, you can flash with the current, which in this case is version 3.9, or you can flash with the supported, which is version 3.7. I will go with whatever is newer. So in this case, I'm going with the version 3.9. You should get a firmware update in progress bar, and after a few seconds, your firmware should be updated. During this process, you should see the lights flashing green on your modules to ensure that it is working properly. As you can see here, I got 2 green lights as the firmware is updating, which means everything is good. We now have firmware update completed. Hit OK. And from here, you are all set to set the module into the vehicle, unless you want to make some modifications. From here, you can go to modify features, and you can adjust things such as door lock, unlock, alarms, but the main things that you are probably interested in are going to be on the next menu. From here, you can set your heated seats controls, your cooled seats controls if you have it optioned. In my case, I do not have AC seats, so I went ahead and turned that off so it doesn't cause any issues. You can also set your remote starter runtime. In my case, I set it to 35 minutes. You can set it as low as 3 minutes. You can also set the style of remote starter for your stock key fob. In my case, I prefer to have the lock, lock, lock as my sequence. But if you want, you can have it set as lock, unlock, lock. Or if you prefer to not use the factory key, you can also disable it. Not sure why you'd want to do that though. The secure takeover here is going to be how long it takes to take over the vehicle. The lowest amount of time is 45 seconds. The normal takeover method is going to be putting the key in the ignition, turning the vehicle to the on position, and then hitting the brake. If you want to, you can also have it shut down when the door is open. If you want to, you can set disarm/unlock before start, relock after start, relock after shutdown, force unlock all on first press. You can also have the parking light confirmation as a constant on or a flashing. In my case, I have it set to on. I'm also going to go ahead and change this setting here to yes for relock after start and yes for relock after shutdown. To save these, I can go to the bottom and hit save. It is going to save it to the device, and then you should get a prompt saying configuration saved successfully. From here, you can also add certain types of remotes. Here you can actually see the list of remotes that are compatible with the unit itself, which are going to be a bunch of different iData remote starts. In my case, I will not be adding these in here, just because we do have the antenna, which we can do it from there. So all said and done, after we are done using this program, we can go ahead and exit out of the program and then disconnect the device. And now we finally get to install the remote start on the vehicle. So now we are inside of the vehicle, and the vehicle that I am using will look similar to this. Otherwise, if you have a different model, you may have to look up how to disassemble to the steering wheel, but I'm going to go ahead and show how we do it on this model. In my case, I have this Apple CarPlay aftermarket radio. So I went ahead and removed the radio, as I'm not going to show you guys because you might not have to depending on what your vehicle setup is like. Next, we are going to go ahead and remove this trim piece that goes all the way across here. To start, you can put your hand under this side and pull pretty aggressively on that side, and it usually will pop out. But in case you do not want to cause any damage by accident, go ahead and use one of these plastic trim tools, stick it underneath, and use it for leverage. All you are doing is pulling forward on the trim. Once you get a piece out, you can pull a little farther to the end, and then on this side, you will just continue to pull until you have most of the trim out. Stick your tool into this side or underneath here. Once you have it removed, you can see that there is a blue connector here. You're going to want to go ahead and remove that connector and then pull the unit the rest of the way out. You can then set that trim off to the side, and then we are going to move up to the stop piece here. Again, you are just going to pull on this and it should come loose pretty easily. Don't yank on it. This is a very thin piece of plastic. Once you get this right side out, again, you can use your plastic trim tool to pull the left side out. After pulling this trim out, you can go ahead and set that off to the side. Up next, we are going to pull off this trim piece around the steering wheel. You can do so by just lifting forward on these tabs here very carefully, and then you can just slide it forward. After sliding that trim forward, you should be able to see behind the steering wheel. Now what you can go ahead and do is you can lower your steering wheel with the telescoping mode on the steering wheel. You're going to want to lower it all the way and pull it all the way forward. Up next, we're getting very close to installing the remote starter here. As you guys can see around the ignition here, you have a couple of tabs. If you have a key start, this is what it will look like. If you have a push to start, there will be a cover on top of the exact same thing that I have here. You can go ahead and use your plastic trim tool and just pop it out. It will come out very, very easily. Do not lose it. In my case, I do not have a push to start, so I don't have to remove that. But what I can do here is you can either buy a specific socket for this one install, or you can find something to wedge into the sides very carefully, not to damage it. These trim pieces are generally not installed very, very tight to begin with. So if you just stick your needle nose into the sides, just slightly, you can rotate it until it breaks free. Then go ahead and remove your needle nose pliers to not cause more damage than you need to, or any damage for that matter. And then go ahead and twist with your fingers. You can go ahead and set this trim off to the side. This part will be hard to see, but as you guys can see, this is the ignition here and the ignition here. This black box back here is going to be your ignition. Basically what you are going to do here is you are going to pull in and up at the exact same time, so at an angle like this. While you are doing that, you are also going to use your finger here and push into this direction. Unfortunately, that was the best camera angle I could get. Once your ignition switch looks like this, you know it is disconnected. You will hear a slight pop, and then you can go ahead and push the entire ignition back and rotate it off to the side. When you're rotating it, you're going to want to push the front of the ignition to the right and pull the back of the ignition towards you. You should have it looking something like this. You may or may not be able to get more access to it, but you also do not want to lose the ignition switch in the back. At this point, you can have one of 4 different types of ignitions. In my case, I only have one white plug. If you have a green and blue plug, you'll have to use the CAN system, which is a tiny bit different, and I will go into depth on how to do that. First, we're going to go through the type of ignition that I have on hand. So the first step for the type 1 ignition is we are going to go ahead and remove that white plug right there. The easiest way to do this is by using a pick and a flathead. I'm going to do my best to show you guys how exactly I would do this. First, I'm going to take the pick that has a slight angle to it, this one here, and stick it through the ignition hole on this side. Once you fish the pick through, you are going to go ahead and press a tab that is on the top. So once you are pressing that tab down, you are going to go ahead and use your flathead to pull the connector out. As you guys can see, the connector did pull out the back. So then you can fish your hand back there and pull it forward. Once you have pulled the connector forward, you can go ahead and grab your module and your main harness. This harness is the main harness that will be used on all vehicles. The difference here is that you have a T harness on this side for the standard. If you are not using the standard and you have a canvas system, aka a push to start system, you will have to adapt with a H harness. As you guys can see on this side, there is two different types of connectors, and the green and blue on a type 2 will fit these connectors directly, and then you will go ahead and plug them in on the other side. In my case though, I only have the white connector, so we do not need any additional harnesses. The first thing I will do is install my main harness. Most of the time I will not install a harness fully until the vehicle has been tested. So that is what I'm going to do here. Now on this harness, you have a female side and a male side. You're going to want to put the white plug into the female side and then put the black plug into the back of the ignition where the white plug came out of. As you guys can see, I have the white harness plugged into the female end of the black harness, and then we are going to take the male end and stick it into the back of the ignition. Once you have the black harness installed, you want to go ahead and grab your pick again and ensure that it is not loose and it did click into place. You can do this by using a pick, not pushing down the locking pin, and try pulling it back. As you can see, I am pulling the ignition with it, and so I can tell that it is fully installed. From this point, you'll want to make sure that this harness is tucked off to the side to ensure that the telescoping will automatically go back up, and you do not want this harness to get crushed by that telescoping mechanism. So you want to make sure that's pushed off to the side, come to the other side of the harness and plug it into the module. The ports we are going to be using is this 20-pin black here on the middle right, the blue pin on the top here, and also the tiny blue pin next to that 20-pin black. If you have the additional remote start that has extended range, you will want to plug the antenna into this 4-pin connector on the front of the unit, or I guess in this case, the back of the unit on the bottom control. So when you are plugging in the unit, you always want to start with the 20-pin black, so you can go ahead and connect that first. And after you connect the 20-pin black, it should do a little bit of a dance. And then a red LED should come on. From there, you can plug in the rest of the unit. So start with your 6-pin blue that goes right next to the black. Then you will want to jump to the 8-pin blue. Plug that into the top module. So when you're all said and done, you should have the MS1 in the black, the MS2 in the blue on the bottom, and the MS3 blue on the top. For a standard key start vehicle that you are using the standard factory key fob for, this is where you will stop. If you are continuing on because you have keyless entry, you will go ahead and use this 2-pin here on top of the MS3 and use the provided CAN cable and route this CAN cable to underneath your passenger footwell, where you will have a CAN junction box. From here, I can't really show you because I do not have the vehicle on hand, but hopefully I can use another person's video to reference what I am talking about. Outside of vehicle differences, if you had additional modules, you can also add those in here. For me, I am going to be installing an antenna for the 1-mile remote. I believe if you have the drone system or the start from your phone module, that will go in the back here, which should have been installed when you were programming on the laptop. Continuing on though, we'll go ahead and install the antenna cable here, which is a 4-pin that is going on the back of the unit. And once you feel that click in, you can go ahead and install your antenna on the other side. So after I plugged in the antenna here, we are going to go ahead and do the programming for the main module. This will be the same regardless if you have an antenna or not. The programming is a little bit different if you do have the CAN system though. In my case, we're going to go with the standard key initially. So you're going to go ahead and grab your normal key fob. First things first, we should install our ignition switch back into its place. All you're going to do is basically, it's at a little bit of an angle. You're going to push it in straight as possible with that angle. You should hear it click into place, then you can go ahead and push on it, make sure it's not going to fall out of place. Now, you're going to go ahead and grab your standard key for your vehicle. Go ahead and insert it and turn it 2 times to the right. You should see your system come on here, and while you're paying attention to your module, wait a few seconds and it should turn green. As you can see, when you turn the ignition on, you should see it flash green and then go back to red. At this point, you are ready to start the vehicle to link the system. Make sure your garage door is open and go ahead and start the vehicle. After a little bit, about 15 seconds, this red light should turn green. In my case, it was a little bit quicker. And then once the light is turned off, you can turn off the vehicle. After the light on the module has turned off, you can remove the key and your standard key fob is now programmed. So in my case, I have it set to locking 3 times and it should start the vehicle. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. You will see the flashers are going a few times. And then on your dash, you will see your light come on, it flash, and then it should turn on. And as you can see, my car auto-locked itself because that is the setting I have set. When you are ready to take off, go ahead and put your key in the ignition, turn it 2 times to the right, press the brake, and you should be able to shift in both reverse and drive. So we have tested our standard key. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to program your additional key fob with the antenna. So now we are going to go ahead and program our 2 key fobs to this antenna. So you're going to go ahead and press it once, and then you're going to hold until you get an LED, and then go ahead and press your lock button. I'm going to need 2 hands for this. You'll press your lock button, you'll hear it click, and then you'll do it again on your next remote, and then you should hear it flash, and then you release, and it should flash 2 times. And now we can test this by locking and unlocking the car. Go ahead and press the button once to lock. Press 2 times to unlock. The vehicle is not going to want to start because we haven't started the vehicle yet. You can tell when you get a red LED, as I'll try again here. So you'll get a red LED and you'll get flashing indicators. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn off the vehicle, and then we are going to manually start the vehicle. And once our indicator goes green, then red, we can go ahead and turn off the vehicle again. Go ahead, open our door, and then close it. And from here, we should be able to hold for 3 seconds, and it should start the vehicle. And wait for the doors to lock. And as you can see, everything is working properly. So after your vehicle has started, go ahead and put your key in, turn it 2 clicks to the right, press the brake, and then turn off the vehicle. Go ahead and hit your unlock button. Open the door, close the door, and then test your second key fob. As you can see, the vehicle started again, and you can repeat the same procedure. 2 clicks to the right, press the brake, and then remove the key. At this point, everything with your remote start is completely set up. You now have 2 key fobs. If you are programming with a key fob that has 5 button on it, you will use the lock button when programming instead of using a 1 click. As you can see here, all we did was lock the vehicle when we were programming it. If you are in the process of programming the control module and you are getting flashing red lights on either of these, your firmware is most likely not updated, so go ahead and update it on the computer. Any other questions, go ahead and ask down in the comments. I will do my best to help with those questions. I do not have all the answers. I did not make this product. I am not sponsored or anything by this product, so I'll do my best to find the information that is needed to help you out. Other than that, the rest of the install is kind of up to you because you have to route this harness to a location that you desire. A couple of ideas is you can route the harness down under here, through a hole through here, and into your glove box. Or, if that doesn't work for you, probably the easiest is to route it down through here to underneath your wheel well, where it is easy to access. If you have an aftermarket radio, there's plenty of space to put it behind the radio. Outside of that, you kind of have to use your imagination to figure out where you want the remote start to be. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a reference as to where I put the module in my car to give you guys some ideas. So I have the harness for the ignition. As you can see there, it is tucked off to the side of the motor. That way, when you are moving the motor up and down, it actually doesn't interfere with it at all, and you don't risk burning through that harness at all. The harness you guys are seeing right there is actually a factory harness. Mine runs off that way to the right. And then if we lift the telescoping all the way up, you can actually see the harness here where it comes off where that black plug is and comes down behind this HVAC piping, down underneath the steering column, back under here. And then I have it going off to the right over here behind the OBD2. And then I have it zip tied to the main harnesses that go all the way down the back where the factory harnesses run. And there's an opening there for those harnesses that are factory. Then if we lift up here, between or behind this plastic, I have the harnesses running down, and behind the brake pedal here, offset to the brake pedal, so more off to the left here, where there's this kind of open area. I decided to mount it back there because it's out of the way, easier to access, and looks natural. Plus, with the way that the brake pedal is, this is all dead space there that your foot will never go to because you have your dead pedal over here. And back there, your brake pedal won't hit it because it doesn't reach all the way. The module itself stops right about here. So then you have all that room for the brake pedal if you ever, for some reason, have your brake pedal go to the floor. Now, for the antenna, I have it coming from there all the way up, following those harnesses all the way up to here, where I have it routed on the outside because there's actually this foam here. And that foam will protect it when I put the outside cover, which is down there, back on there. And then I have it routed up through this siding here. When we get to the top here, it actually follows this crease line here. You can kind of see a little bit of a gap, but it's not a huge deal. But follows that crease line up to the end of the window where I have it tucked behind the headliner all the way across to the antenna, where it sticks out just enough so that this black sun visor thing doesn't interfere with it. Not that it would, but at least it runs there and gets you the best possible range. So that's how I routed mine. If you guys wanted to and you were a little more creative, there's actually a really good plate here that is the perfect size to put it there. I thought about it, but I don't have anything to really mount it to, or to mount it with. But yeah, that's just a couple ideas on how to mount it. So as you guys can see, we got the dash all put together, the radio's back in, and we got that side piece in, so now you can't see that harness at all going up to the side. And then just the new antenna is the only thing you can really see. And then down underneath here, no new wires, except for you can kind of see it behind where the module's sitting, but you can also kind of see the outline of where the module stops so that it's not in the way of the brakes. But go ahead and close the door here, show you guys everything is working properly, and then just hold it for 3 seconds and you'll see it flash, and then no red light yet, which means it should start. I'll leave the key fob in the frame. And that's the indicator that it started. Lock the doors. And then if I'm away from my Apple CarPlay connected, so it doesn't want to use my mic, but you'll see it flashes every few seconds to let you know the car is running. If you're away from your car and you want to stop the vehicle, just hold down for 3 more seconds and it'll kill the car and it'll lock. And then to unlock, you press it twice and it'll unlock the car. So everything's working good. But this is how you set up your iData remote start on any Mercedes. And I hope this video helped someone out there and made this process a little bit easier and a little more understandable instead of using their not so great instruction manuals. So anyways, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed or this was helpful, and good luck.